It's a crop circle in England that appeared after Colin Andrews and I and a group of people went up on Woodborough Hill, and we all were given this vision of this form. And it was like it was given to us because we all agreed upon that form. And so we actually went into meditation, contacted the extraterrestrial civilizations, and asked them to make a crop circle. Mentally, we were doing this, visualizing it in that form. And the next morning, that crop circle form, which looks like this, which has become the SeaCity logo, was found in a field very close to where we were by a farmer in the wee hours of the morning, at dawn, at like 5 in the morning or something, because you're so far north, the sun comes up very early in July, late July. And what was interesting about that is that it was, in a sense, a CE5 crop circle. And it was after this happened that Colin Andrews came forward and said, yes, in fact, even from the early days, from 1989, 1991, when we were getting involved with all this, he and Busty Taylor were flying over and looking at that time, they were these just simple circles that were appearing very near where Colin Andrews lived. And at one point, he turned to Busty Taylor, and they were flying over this field. And they said to each other, wouldn't it be amazing if a circle appeared that combined all the different forms of circles that we've seen, a circle with a ring and with a Celtic cross and this and that, and the very next morning, in exactly the spot when they said that to each other, over that field, when they were flying over that point of that field, exactly that crop circle that combined all the elements appeared. So there is a interactivity of this that is transdimensional, that is mediated in consciousness and thought, which is really mind-blowing and has been dispositively proven to be possible. And this is where you then have to say, well, how is that happening? And one of the things I point out to people is that when you start dealing with these transdimensional technologies that permit travel faster than the speed of light and communication faster than the speed of light, you're dealing with technologies that cross into what I call over the crossing point of light and the speed of light. And when you get into that dimension, you're dealing with the realm of thought visualization, the astral realm, the realm of consciousness, and all of that. And this is why the science of consciousness, and certainly everyone at the World Fusion Network understand this, the science of consciousness is the central science of the next 1,000 years. Of course, we need to get out the new energy technologies and all the things that have been suppressed for 100 years, but really that will be the big breakthroughs that happen in understanding how this is. And it's not just it is a science, and there is a methodology to it, not only for meditation, but also for contact and for manifestation. And that's what we're finding with these SeaCity expeditions, and it just keeps accelerating. And one thing that Colin had happen, I mentioned this a moment ago, is one of the original tones that we used in our contact protocols were these tones that were recorded in a crop circle field where there was levitation and anti-gravity and all kinds of weird stuff happening. And it's an amazing story that Colin Andrews shares. And they did get a recording of this tone, and then we have it. And Charlie's been able to, really clean it up and what have you. So I don't know, Charlie, if you could play that so people can hear.
Sure.
This, by the way, when you get this DVD that comes with the book, Contact, Countdown to Transformation, and you can get that at disclosureproject.org, is on there so that you can play this. And there's also a CD version of it, so if you want to go out into the wilderness somewhere and play these tones while you're doing the visualization and meditation, it's a very, very powerful one because this is from them. People say, why do we, radio transmit these out there? I said, well, this wasn't created by man. This was technological, and it's a tone, but it came from the ETs, so very important. So if you play that one now, Charlie.
Sure.
Maybe a bit louder.
one thing we should note about that is that the sounds that you're hearing are actually synthesized sounds. The original recording was done through a video recorder, a high-end video camera, and while Colin and his associates were walking through the crop circle, the energy of the crop circle literally fried all the gear, the video equipment, any audio equipment they had, and this sound was the only thing that survived the experience. Not only was it unique, it was also had a directionality to it, because it came. It sounded like it came through one end of the circle and went out through the other, and that's why you hear the sounds fading in and out. The original recording had a lot of noise and static and everything on it. When I listened to it originally, I thought there was something very recognizable about it, because the sound is actually the purest waveform there is, which is called a sine wave, and I was able to recreate it almost exactly as it was in the original recording, and I thought that was the salient part of the recording and not necessarily the context in which it took place.
Well, and of course, this is very significant that this has come from elsewhere, and that there was a recording, but and that whatever energy was in that field was so powerful that it did. I mean, there were these $75,000 BBC Betacams and equipment that completely had all kinds of circuits that got kind of fried from all this. And what I find interesting about these tones is that when we've had a lot of anomalous things happen with these tones. For example, when I first had the idea to take them and not just play them with an audio boombox or something, but also to take a radio and transmit them. The first time we did that, we were, believe it or not, on Marconi's Hill in England, where the first telegraph was sent in the 1800s. And we were up on this hill, and I had a transceiver, a radio transmitter and receiver, and I was transmitting these tones. And suddenly, after we finished, all around us in an omnidirectional way, a very similar sine wave tone came into space around us, and it had begun to rain and was windy, and all of us could hear this doo 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 doo, and it went around and around and around, and it was them answering us. And at other times we've done this where we've had the button pressed to send out the tone, and the ETs have overridden the circuit so that while we're transmitting, the tones or some variant of the tone comes back through the radio. Now, technically, anyone who knows anything about these radio receivers and transceivers know that when you're transmitting, you can't receive. You can either receive or transmit. In this case, we'll be transmitting. They'll override the transmission and come through. We've also had it happen where we've had the radios off, and they will start sending these tones through them even when they're turned off. Very, very strange electromagnetic, transdimensional electronics. And this is the sort of things, and this has happened dozens and dozens of times, and we've had people on our contact groups that are around the world who are using these tones in the meditation who have had all kinds of variants of the same kinds of strange experiences with these